Hello, everybody. Welcome to Score Predictions time for the Championship playoff finals. And you will get League One and League Two thrown in today, courtesy of the great Sam Parkin. And yeah, I just told Sam what the scores were. Look at his annoying, smug grin.
I don't know what's coming here. Go on.
You got two of the three bob on, which is jolly good. Well done. You had Charlton 1, Wycombe 0, and Wimbledon 1, Notts County 0. I was pretty good with who was qualifying, but that's literally not the game, is it? I had Charlton and Wycombe outcome correct. You also had the Blades Bristol City outcome correct. And if we'd been going over 120 minutes, you would have got Sunderland Coventry bob on because you said 1-1 for that, but it was actually 1-0 after 90. That's the good news, Sam. The bad news for you, mate, is that the season's already over. You won that 21-20. You get no points, nothing for that. Nil point in the spirit of Eurovision. Good morning.
Morning, mate. Yeah, I think, pretty much. Well, I was going to say it went to plan. I think Coventry, I probably fancied, and Stockport were the two that I fancied to make it through. So, what's that? 4 out of 6 I've got right, making it to Wembley. But the nature of the games really kind of went to plan, didn't they? I think jumping ahead here, but Stockport, Leyton, Orient was probably the one that gave us the most bang for buck. The rest of them, the majority, other than the Sheffield United demolition job, very, very tight, very cagey across the board.
Yes, indeed. We are very, very pleased to be brought to you on these Final Four prediction show with Boyle Sports, the home of the early payout. Boyle Sports will pay out if your game goes 2 goals deficit. So whoever you back, if they go 2 goals up, wherever you are in the game, Boyle Sports will pay out. Therefore, if you'd been on Sheffield United, Sam, you'd have got a nice payout after 52 minutes when Gus Harmer put them 2 goals up with that kind of deflected finish there. That was the only game, to Sam's point, that happened in. Sam, do you recall the finals last year? Anyone going 2 up? Because 2 sides managed to do it.
Oh my goodness, I can't remember what happened yesterday.
If I say the name Josh Murphy.
Yeah, Oxford. Yeah, Oxford.
And that was real super quick, Sam. Boyle Sports would have paid out in 42 minutes in that one when Josh Murphy put...
Crawley Crew.
You got the goal scorer? Who put them 2 up?
Oh, Dan Horsey got 1, did he not?
I can't remember. I only wrote down the second goal scorer.
Kelly?
Very good, Sam. So, yeah, Liam Kelly. So, look, Boyle Sports would have paid out on both of those. But if you'd been on Oxford, happy, happy days. Really pleased to be partnered with Boyle Sports for these shows. Home of the early payout. They will pay out when your team goes 2 goals up. Please remember, 18 plus only. Please gamble responsibly. BeGambleAware.org. Right, Sam, I feel I need to do some stretches before this one. We've only got 3 games to talk about. So, I'm normally rushing him along here to break the fourth wall here. But you can take a little bit longer, Sam, today. If you haven't already, maybe hit pause now, because Sam and I have already chatted for 25 minutes on Sheffield United versus Sunderland. But Sam, I need a prediction from you for the Championship playoff final.
Oh, man. Yeah, it's really difficult. It could be a case of both teams really cancelling each other out and it going all the way, extra time, penalties. That's how I'm feeling. But I want the supporters and the neutrals to enjoy it, to enjoy the spectacle. I'm going to go for both teams to score, but I'm going to go for Sheffield United with that additional depth, with maybe a little bit more know-how, despite Sunderland and many of their players having relatively recent visits to Wembley. I'm going to go for Sheffield United by the odd goal, but I'm going to go 2-1 Blades.
Bold. When was the last playoff final that both teams scored? I suppose, no, Luton Coventry was both teams to score, wasn't it? Which was 1-1 at full time, but was jolly.
Are you wanting this prediction 90 minutes, yeah?
This is a 90-minute prediction. Yeah.
Okay, I'll stick with a 2-1, but, I'll just caveat it by saying it could be a little extra time.
It could be 1-1 at full time, yeah.
I'll go with a 2-1.
Okay. You've left me a few options which I like, Sam. One of which is, if Sheffield United are stronger squad wise and the league table tells us they've accumulated more points. I know this is a tournament game now and not a league game. You've left me the 1-0, which is a regular playoff final outcome. Although we have seen a couple of them stretch to 2-0. One of them, in fact, the Sunderland-Wickham game, where they just grabbed that second goal to close it out a few years ago. I think Ross Stewart and Embleton, Sunderland fans will be telling me in the chat. I don't think it's going to go to extra time, Sam, is it? I don't think so. I will take the 1-0 then to Sheffield United. So a repeat of the scoreline of last year's playoff final, but obviously that was fourth place beating third place 1-0. I'm going for third place to beat fourth place 1-0. And I think I speak on behalf of everybody. Let's just hope it's not too cagey. Look, it's not the wild 90s anymore. I don't think we're going to get any more 2-2s and 3-2s and 4-4s like we used to get in the 90s. But yeah, let's hope it's not the cagey game it could be and we get more goals than Sam and I have forecast. And everyone has a wonderful day out. And please, if you are going, do send me a tweet and try and come and find me amongst the 90,000. Right. It's Charlton versus Leyton Orient. We haven't yet got Sam's take on the League One semi-finals. So do you want to kind of jump in there first, Sam, and give your take on the semi-finals at large, or do you want me to give my prediction first?
And we can talk about the semi-final. Yeah, I think Stockport, Leyton Orient kind of played out as I would have anticipated.
And that was sixth beating third.
Yeah, a lot of chances, a lot of opportunities. Certainly the first game, loads of weird decisions, non-decisions, and a little bit of a...
Do you prefer a weird decision or a non-decision? A non-decision. At least they can say, we just missed it. Yeah.
A little bit of a barrage, I was going to say, at Edgeley Park for a spell that Leyton Orient had to come through. Certainly some big chances that they missed. The shot count will tell you that they had many an opportunity, which required Leyton Orient's goalkeeper and a bit of poor finishing as well to go their way. But Orient are a good side. They play good football. That's why I'm hopeful that the final is going to be a little bit easier on the eye than certainly Charlton v Wickham semi-final was. That was one of the hardest watches I've had for many a year when it comes to the playoff.
You're not the only person that has said that to me this past week.
And Leyton Orient, just interestingly, ahead of the final, and I think I touched on it in the previous podcast, they played a back three in the first leg, which, they're not adverse to doing, but Richie Wellens actually after the game said, I don't like it. He
didn't like it.
No, and he's got these two very good fullbacks that have had good seasons. Galbraith obviously got one of the penalties. Jack Curry played well for about 70 minutes, I think, and then obviously went off with cramp or whatever because of his lack of minutes. So, and Jordan Brown in midfield is a big player for them. So it enabled them to get Donnelly higher, the Tottenham loanee, who's obviously been a standout player. It was more like what Leyton Orient's setup's likely to be at Wembley. So that plays into hand. They'll have more of the ball, despite being very good on the counter-attack. This is in the final against Charlton, who made it through a incredible battle with Wickham. I mean, the pass completion would have been well down on anything you've seen on any pitch across England this season. It was just a battle, set pieces, ball turning over in midfield, neither side wanting the ball. But Matty Godden, as he so often has this season, profiting from a bit of a mess defensively, prodding one in. And
you mentioned Jones in the preview, didn't you, Sam?
Yeah, so that's
Jones on the pitch, not in the dugout.
And
even though we saw more of Jones in the dugout than Jones on the pitch, I think in the end, didn't we?
That was interesting, wasn't it? Which leads me on to Charlton win and won at Leyton Orient late on. I think they were behind, and Charlton. It was a spell in the season.
Oh, double set play. I remember. Yeah.
It was a spell in the season when certainly Gillespie was profiting from set pieces, but they were as a team. So those two, I think, definitely worth keeping an eye on, Jones and Gillespie. Gillespie in particular, who scored in that game. And they won at the Valley as well, courtesy of a narrow 1-0 as well. So they did the double I believe. I've only just checked that quickly this morning, but the game at Brisbane Road is still relatively fresh in the mind. So, yeah, Charlton have improved through the season. Obviously, results since the turn of the year, or I think it was the catalyst was a 5-0 win over Northampton. They clearly haven't looked back, and they have improved as a footballing side. Coventry and Doherty in midfield have started having a little bit more of the ball. Obviously, Luke Berry's a talented player in the 10, but it's still a team that are robust, well structured, and all about intensity in the mould of Nathan Jones's sides. So I think this one potentially out of the three has got the probably slightly more hope of this being more chances, less.
Is that just, be honest, is that just because Orient are in the final?
Yeah, well, I think it was a bit of an anomaly. Wickham's game plan was a product of them getting beaten 4-0 by Charlton.
Yeah. And also, Sam, I think Nathan Jones, from his comments, and I was at both Huddersfield Luton games, I think he was very wounded at losing such a low margin game. And he then won it in exactly the same way that Corberon beat him. I think he's very focused in on that's how you win a playoff game.
Yeah, just in terms of some of the individuals, Thierry Small came back in for the second leg. He's been a real standout player for the second half of the season. Right-hand side, very direct. They play this kind of hybrid style, Charlton, where he looks like a right winger in possession, but then he gets back in to become kind of the right wing back alongside Kane Ramsey, and that's a real strength
Jack
of
Stacey,
Charlton.
yeah.
Yeah, that's a real strength of them on the right-hand side. Campbell's quite eye-catching on the left-hand side for Charlton. He's been, looking probably their most sharp attacking weapon in the last weeks of the season. For Orient, Donnelly I already spoke of, Tottenham loanee, left-footer in the hole, really talented. And Kelman just looks revitalised this season, which goes without saying. He's scored loads of goals for Orient, but... He's just looking really on song, despite not scoring in the second leg. Pulled a brilliant save out of a die and hit the bar as well. I think at 1-0 Orient, that would have seen them go 4-2 up on aggregate and probably home and host without the necessity for penalties. So, yeah, tight encounter. Do you want a prediction?
Well, I need to go first on this one, don't I? My mate, I texted him when Charlton scored because he's a Charlton fan. And he was a bit overconfident. He said, "We never lose at Wembley, mate." So I think there's a bit of confidence there. Obviously, it's 4th versus 6th. And I don't know, am I being a bit disrespectful to Richie Wellens by saying it's not a great matchup for him going against Nathan Jones? I think, although, to be fair, he beat Dave Challoner, didn't he? But he beat him over 2 legs, which I think is key. So people are going to scream and shout at me in the comments. I'm going to go for exactly the same thing I did in the other final. If I can get away with it in all 3 finals, I might do it. I'm going to go 1-0 Charlton. I think that's the game plan. I think it'll be similar. Yeah, I agree with you about the Orient not Wickham, but I still think they'll try and control. Maybe it won't. I think it will be as tight, but it won't be as butt ugly, like you're saying, as the Wickham semi. I'm going to go 1-0 Charlton, Sam.
I'm really hot on the draw here, I think. I think Leyton Orient have the players in form to hurt Charlton, and I don't think Wickham's setup enabled their front players to be able to do so. And I really like Kone, but my goodness me, his form has fallen off a cliff the back end of the season. Udo as well, I've really liked throughout this campaign. They didn't show their best, whether that was partly because of the setup and partly because of a little bit of a lack of confidence, probably a combination of both. I don't think Orient had that concern coming into the game. Danajai, Kelman, Donnelly, O'Neill got the goal in the second leg. They've got goals. They've ended the season in fine fettle in that regard.
And they've won a penalty shootout as well, which is sometimes a thing when you're going into extra time if you're up against someone who's won one.
I just think they'll be a bit more front-footed and they'll cause Charlton problems, and they can defend as well. So I'm tempted to go 0-0 and it maybe be won in extra time, but I'll go for the 1-1 just to give us a couple of goals.
Do you want to give me a pick in extra time and pens then?
No. Not really.
You don't have to, mate. You've already given
Who
me
would I
your
side
prediction.
with? I don't know. I'm
It's so
really,
hard to tell once it goes past 90, isn't
yeah.
it?
No, I'm a big fan of Richie. I think
Brilliant.
Richie Wellens. I think he's got
Championship
real
manager in waiting,
potential.
surely, isn't
Yeah,
he?
I think so. I think so. I just like Richie in terms of like tactically, he's obviously incredibly knowledgeable, and from an era where he tells it as it is as well. He's pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's probably had to toe the line on occasion because he's very emotional, as is going to be the chap in the opposite dugout. I got admiration for both of them because I know how hard it is, not having done it myself, but being around my friends that are doing it, and being around managers when I was playing and subsequently now working on the other side. I know how diligent you've got to be, how hardworking you've got to be. These two, certainly Richie's away from his family for the majority of the week. Nathan Jones is just obsessed with the role. You couldn't find two more passionate managers. So I've got huge respect for both. Which way is it going to go? Look, I don't know, but I'll go 2-1 Orient. 2-1 Orient, extra time, or maybe Orient on pens because of what you said.
That's tremendous.
That'd be a story, wouldn't it?
Let's get into the League Two. And speaking of your friends that are doing it, and you don't have to reveal all, Sam, but Johnny Jackson in the playoff final. I know that you're mates with him. Is that obviously you're a pundit, so you have to be super professional down the line. Do you text a mate before a playoff final and say good luck, or do you have to keep it super professional if you're calling it on the TV or the radio and not do that?
Well, you've forgotten that I'm quite friendly with the Walsall manager as well. Yeah.
Of course you are. So you can't lose then, yeah?
Not to make it about me at all, but I'm in the perfect position. Yeah, couldn't be more pleased for both of them. Look, just really good guys. Both of them don't take themselves too seriously. Great friends. Obviously, my history with Jacko goes back longer. Probably 2002. I met him. Different period of my life when I met Matt, but we spent a lot of time together in a short period when I was playing for Leyton and he was playing for Watford. Him and John Eustace shared an apartment about 100 yards from where I was living, so we spent many an evening out having dinner.
Joey and Chandler, yeah?
Yeah, so I spent, and it was a difficult time for me with injury. Matt was out of the side at Watford, and someone who obviously you've always kept an eye out for and always stayed in touch, maintained that friendship because, I like to think that I'd help him out and his guys as a manager and likewise he'll open doors for me doing my media work. So no, they're just two really good people. And I think the similarities between them, what I just touched on, there's similarities in that they were both captains for their clubs, and they didn't have it all their own way. I think they were probably written off on occasions as players. Jacko became a club legend at Charlton, then a coach, then a manager. I think Sads was definitely written off at times in his career, bounced back after, being out of the side at Watford, became a bit of a cult hero at Shrewsbury. I think led them to Wembley on a couple of occasions. Captains, both of them, steely determination, good leadership quality, and that rare commodity that pretty much everyone likes the pair of them, which is very rare in football, just good people. So yeah, I'm thrilled in that regard. The game, oh God. Well, this is the one because these two teams without the ball are terrific. You couldn't have written it better for Wimbledon across the two games. Yeah, they wouldn't have wanted to concede so many chances in the first leg against Notts County, but for Notts County,
clean sheet.
Yeah, for Notts County to have both, the keeper was magnificent. To have both their prize forward players missing for the second leg. The performance of Joe Lewis in the second leg, he was colossal at the back. They are incredibly well drilled. Nerville, this is one thing to keep an eye out for. Both wing-back systems, Wimbledon's wing-backs, I would say, I haven't got the statistics in front of me, but certainly in terms of a goal threat, Wimbledon's is stronger than Walsall's.
And that's where the space might be.
Well, I don't know, because they maybe can't. Yeah, obviously they're going to be playing very similar shapes.
Yeah,
the only difference in the shapes is that Walsall now have gone to play in 2-10s. So they play a 3-4-2-1 in essence with 2-10s, two very dynamic running 10s in there for energy. Obviously gives them an additional body in the middle of the pitch as well. probably going to be off Jamil Matt. So that's a bit of a difference. Wimbledon have been that shape this season, but are now more of a 3-5-2 with Marcus Brown playing up there with Matty Stevens. So very similar, although I would say Wimbledon probably have a bit more goal threat in their wing backs. Hence Josh Nerville getting that wonderful goal in the second leg to get them through. But this was 1-0 to Walsall at Wimbledon when they had Nathan Lowe. He got the winner on that occasion, and it was 1-1 at Walsall relatively recently. So there's been 3 goals between the two. This is going to be cagier. This is going to be tighter. Both teams, I think, towards the tail end of the season, both managers coming in for an awful amount of criticism. It's the modern world. It's where we are. I understand that. But my goodness me, Walsall would have been, right down the bottom of the bookies' odds start of the season. It's been an incredible season for them. And the powers of recovery, if they are to make it to League One, they have to be applauded because they have been through the mill the last month. How have they been able to pull out these 3 performances? I don't know. Wimbledon, not to the same degree, but also question marks about them tail end of the season. And in essence, they've played 3 playoff games. They went to Grimsby, which was a shootout, clean sheet, 1-0, 1-0 twice in the playoffs. So 2 teams that have produced under enormous pressure. And one of them's going to have to do it again to make it to League One. Prediction? Easy one for me. It's all you're getting. 0-0 after 90 minutes. That's all you're getting.
That was such a brilliant bit of analysis, Sam, to land on 0-0.
Could be 1-1. Could be 1-1.
Well, that was
1-0. 0-0.
That was going to be mine.
Upset anyone today?
Was the 1-1. And look, obviously I cover the Championship and I do with Matt SB, the League One predictions on his channel. I am not even going to attempt to compete with Mr. Parkin on knowledge on these 2 teams and particularly the managers and style. So I'll go with what he said and I'll go for the 1-1 draw. So Sam and I have Sheffield United getting promoted to the Premier League. I've got Charlton and Sam's got Orient getting promoted to the Championship, and we haven't got a clue, and we think we might be going.
You've got to show your hand.
Oh, go on then. I'll go for Walsall then in extra time, but I've gone 1-1 in 90. But yeah, and Sam is understandably not going to show his.
Just finally, people who do follow the bottom tier will remember Forest Green's wonderful side a few years ago under Rob Edwards. That was a Jamil Matt, Matty Stevens front pairing that did the damage, I think, that season. One of them's going to be lining up front for either side on Monday.
Brilliant stuff. Brilliant stuff. Right, get down there in the comments. Get your predictions in. I mean, you can predict the 90s. You can predict the 120s and the penalties. You can just give us your who's getting promoted. Just get involved with some names and some score lines. We won't do points and whatnot on this one. But we will say a giant thank you to Boyle Sports for their partnership on this. The home of the early payout, Boyle Sports. And I'm afraid, guys, slim pickings. It's literally the only possibility we have of an early payout is in Sam's prediction for the Championship, where he's got 2-1. So Sheffield United could go 2 goals up. But I think the way he laid it out, they're not going to. So slim pickings, but huge thank you to Boyle Sports for getting involved. And look, in last season's playoff finals, as we said, you would have got that lovely bonus in Oxford Bolton and in Crawley Crew. So maybe we're being a little bit curmudgeonly and pragmatic with our predictions here. Get involved in the comments. It's going to be absolutely brilliant weekend of play-off finals. If you're at the Championship one, give us a shout. And I'm sure, Sam, are you at any of these, Sam?
Yeah, I'm going to be going to Saturday. Yeah, I'm going to take my boy to Sunderland, Sheffield United, hopefully. And then working Monday, Wimbledon, Walsall.
Brilliant stuff.
Written in the stars. So
please, it does mean a lot as well. If you do listen to the show, I know a lot of people do stop Sam as he's trying to run from his car park to his commentary position and say that they listen to the show. Do come and say hello. I know Sam's about 6'8". He won't bite, I promise. Especially if you tell him you listen to the you listen to the pod. Thank you so much. There'll be one more show. That is it for the predictions this season. Sam, I've loved it, even though you've kicked my ass generally over the past 2 years. One more show where we will be talking about 3 teams who have been promoted this weekend. Join us next week for that, and then we can all put our feet up, and the 24-25 EFL season is over.